Hey guys, coldbrew here. Welcome back to another raid video. This is the brand new champion, Fragment Collection Fusion champion that is coming into the game. You see his gear, the clothing that he has. He's a Shadowkin. He looks pretty cool, but is he cool enough to be worth the resources to go through the grind and get this guy? We'll cover his kit in this video. I'll cover the skills that he has, whether he's worth it or not, whether he has synergies with other champions, and whether it's worth it for you to go and get this champion. If you've been playing this game longer than 2 months, you know fusions come and go. Fusions every single month, we'll have them, and some are definitely worth skipping. You shouldn't use your resources, guys. Some of these champions are just not worth the effort if you've got something else that can do the job. It's not like it's the end of the world if you skip a champion. This game has over 900 champions. So it has to be something really special for us to say unskippable. You have to go over this champion. Then some people might go over in the comments and say, coldbrew, you gotta go with all the champions because they might get, boosted in the future. They might get, overpowered in the future. No, that time is long gone where they would do a rebalancing of a champion and they would make him much better than they used to. I don't think they'll ever do those kind of rebalancings anymore, especially if a champion has a few things that are good in his kit, which this champion has, to be honest, and we'll cover them in just a second. I just want to cover very briefly on what they give us in terms of like the intro. Okay, they give us like an intro for this champion. He's a Shadowkin legendary HP spear based, and he's gonna be an immovable HP damage dealer with arena being his prime battleground. Despite having a handful of debuffs in his kit, you can totally ignore accuracy in favor of more offensive stats as long as you bring another debuff champion on your team. Ishiyama has no need for the attack stat, but his damage will greatly benefit HP and critical damage instead. So make sure to invest in those stats to maximize his damage. So this is the idea behind him. And then they cover like the use of each of his A1, A2, so his first, second, and third skill, and then on how his passive works, which I'm not going to mention because we're going to cover and interact with those now. All right, let's go and jump into have a look at Ishiyama the immovable. These are the skills. If you want to just have a look at them and pause the video, but I'm going to cover them right now and give you guys my own thoughts because yeah, this guy doesn't look that insane to me, although there are some uses. I will say there are some uses that I'll definitely mention. So first things first, Burning Comet is his A1 skill, default skill. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit transfers a random debuff from this champion to the target. If this champion is under any debuffs when attacked, counterattacks with this skill. So how can you use this to your own benefit? The counterattack part of this is pretty cool. So if you're under debuffs, which can happen in the Hydra, for example, you will be counterattacking when you get like an AoE attack happening. So that is good. And then you'll transfer those debuffs to the target. Let's say what those debuffs can be. It can be a block buffs. It can be a poison. It can be an HP burn. Whatever debuff, it doesn't matter. He'll be counterattacking. Double hitting attack. So I'm guessing he's going to be hitting for a good amount. The transfer of debuffs is nice also because it does affect on how the fight can go in terms of, let's say they target you with something such as, I don't know, if they target you with a provoke and then they hit you with an AoE attack, I'm imagining that he'll be able to also transfer the provoke because he'll counterattack. And then by that, he'll transfer the debuff, right? Or at least he'll cleanse it from himself. So that already sounds pretty solid in terms of an A1. Calculated volley A2, 4 turns cooldown. Is going to be 3 turns cooldown when you book it, if you book him. So AoE attack, 75% chance of placing a fear, reduce crit damage, reduce crit rate, debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So 3 debuffs. These debuffs cannot be resisted by enemies who are already under 2 or more debuffs. So let's say for Hydra, you're running Lydia in the team with this guy. Defense down and weakened by Lydia. Then this means he'll be able to apply reduced crit damage and reduced crit rate on the enemies for the Hydra, which actually are pretty strong debuffs to have. for the Hydra. It helps a lot against the Head of Wrath, the one that hits you pretty hard after you hit it 15 times. You see the small counter there on the top. This guy will help you in there. So it's already looking like a solid champion for the Hydra, although Plarium told us about using this guy for the arena, all right? And he is also Shadowkin, so if you're somebody who's got Mikage, maybe you can pair these two together if you don't have Ninja, for example, which Ninja goes very well with Mikage. I'm assuming people who have Mikage also have Ninja by this point, but if you're somebody brand new to the game who then went on spending and got Mikage, then you might be missing a very solid Shadowkin. He might be able to fill that role because Shadowkins work well together, at least Mikage +1, right? So in terms of PvP, applying the fear debuff, that's the 50% chance for them to lose their turn, I believe. And the cooldown will not lose its... The cooldown of the skill will not be used up, so it's not like True Fear. True Fear is much better. In terms of just having a fear debuff, that's pretty nice. In terms of using this guy, with how things are with the polymorph blessing, I know polymorph has fallen a little bit off in terms of usefulness. It's still a very, very, very annoying debuff. And PvP wise, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't look like he does anything against Armand, for example, because the way that he counterattacks when attacked is if he's got a debuff and he gets attacked, he'll counterattack. If he's stunned by Armands, which Armands can do that, then he won't be able to counterattack regardless of what this does, right? What his A1 does. So PvP wise, I think he doesn't look such a great addition, but I can see his role somewhere in the Hydra without testing him at all. Then his A3, finish them. Okay, yeah. Is that a Mortal Kombat reference? Anyway, attacks one enemy, will ignore 25% of the target's defense, will ignore 50% of the target's defense instead if the target's under 2 or more debuffs. This is significantly better when there's debuffs on the enemy. So you can think of certain setups when you are going to be applying debuffs on enemies, and that will allow you to ignore 50% of defense. Even 25 is actually nice, but it's a single target skill. So if you're facing an ultimate Death Knight against you, you're going to have a bad time using this champion's A3. Places a block damage buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. So actually can be pretty annoying if you use this guy to kill off that single attacker in arena, in live arena, for example. You can actually get some benefit out of this A3. So I'm liking it already. Then the passive, finally, the immovable passive, all right? Whenever an enemy resists a debuff placed by this champion, the next debuff placed by this champion cannot be resisted. So, how does this guy apply debuffs? Is that the A2 only? I don't count the A1 as a way to apply debuffs. Although you are transferring debuffs, I'm not sure its passive works like that. I think when you're transferring debuffs, you still need accuracy for transferring the debuffs, but I'm not sure because it's an attack. I'm not sure on how it works. Some champions have it as a passive where when you get attacked, they transfer the debuffs, but it's when you get attacked. It's not when you attack back. So I believe Lysandra has a very similar kit on her A1 where she transfers debuffs. So I do think he doesn't need accuracy for this, but I might be wrong. So correct me in the comments if you remember that. I haven't used a champion with this specific skill in the past. Anyway, it's an okay passive. If you've got other champions there to apply debuffs, you don't care about the passive, half of the passive at all, honestly. So they should have just allowed this to be unresistible, to be honest. It's not like it's debuffs that are insane. In terms of PvP, yeah, reduced crit rate is nice. Reduced crit damage is nice. I would have preferred if these were unresistible, but then if, let's say you did a weak hit, then his next attack would apply protected debuffs, okay, on enemies. So if you did like a weak hit, then he would apply protected debuffs. So that would have been nice, because imagine getting resisted on these, all right? Because you didn't have 2 or more debuffs. Imagine getting resisted here. The next time you'll be able to do this skill is after 3 turns. So it's PvP wise, live arena, it's not going to happen that often for a fight to go that long, unless you're running very heavy defensive setup. Each debuff placed by this champion increases their max health by 3%. So stacking up to 30%. PvP wise, how long is the fight? How long does the fight have to go for me to apply all of these debuffs? Assuming I apply them on all enemies, then he has to rotate through his skill 2 or 3 times to get this complete buff on his health. Although it's pretty nice. Actually, let's say he has 100,000 health. He's going to boost up to 130,000 health. So it is a solid amount. And then he has an aura which boosts ally health in all battles by 28%, which I find very nice. Overall, I'll give this guy, without testing him at all, I'll give him a 6 out of 10. Would I go for this? Personally, would I go for this fusion? Not really. Doesn't seem to add anything to any team that I have. And the majority of players out there won't see this as a benefit at all. Honestly, I just wonder about his multipliers, how good those are going to be. He is susceptible to the weakest that he can do on magic defense enemies. Not so many magic defense enemies. I mean, I don't know, Roros, if I can think of something very quickly in terms of magic affinity. Other than that, he looks like a 6 out of 10 without testing his multipliers. Should you go for this guy? Wait until we cover this guy in terms of test server footage. We'll see his damage. I honestly think he has use for the Hydra because he's got that AoE attack. He's got the reduced crit damage, reduced crit rate. Can have some use. He doesn't really need the 5-star blessing to be useful because he'll have the 5-star blessing somewhere available around the end of the month of May. We'll have some sort of event to get that. So I wouldn't think you'll need the 5-star blessing, but basically you need blessings at this point for you to be, you know, getting that extra health on your damage dealer, which is this guy. You get it from the 1-star, you get the 4-star, you get the extra crit damage, and the 5-star gives you extra resistance, extra accuracy, which you wouldn't really need if you're setting it up correctly. So his A2 always applies those debuffs. So you've got somebody who applies debuffs already. If he had something like a block buffs instead of reduced crit rate, that would have been nice. The fear maybe would have been too strong to apply a true fear. I don't know. We have many champions that apply true fear nowadays. So give me your thoughts, guys. Compare it to past fusions. Compare it to how much effort you're going to need to put. Basically, the effort that we'll need to do to get this champion is going to be about the same as in the past. It's not like we have easier fusions, like easier events for some champions and then harder events for other champions. Doesn't work like that. Some fusion schedules can look easier, but basically you'll still need to do summoning. You'll still need to spend a lot of silver on upgrades, and you'll still need to do lots of champion training in dungeon divers to get this guy, basically without skipping any of the events and tournaments that are going to be available. So have that in mind. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.